Hey guys, welcome back to Porch Coast Adventures. This video is all about the van build. It's a little patchwork. A lot of the clips are quite old because we did start the van build like almost 2 years ago. So I'm going to try and patch those together as best I can and make it cohesive. I'll do some voiceovers to kind of describe what's going on in some of the clips. And I'm going to kind of interject myself here like this to explain stuff that I may have not filmed, because there were a few chunks that I just forgot to film. Especially near the end, it was all a blur. So I'll do my best. Bear with us, and don't be afraid to ask questions in the comments. We'll be around. Check it out. Ready? Good.
Would you look at that? Arthur Fox, watch and learn. I hope not.
Shout out to my boy Arthur. Okay. So, while that cures, we can feed the wires, see what it looks like down there. I'll leave it. So I'd probably just feed them behind. Okay, so this is a quick little rundown of our electrical setup, and thanks very much to Mitch Keynes for basically doing it all for us. We had no idea what we were doing. The more we read about it, the more videos we watched about it, the less sure we were, so thanks to him. I guess we'll start down here. We've got our solar controller, our inverter, 1000 watt pure sine wave inverter, and our battery. This is a 105 amp hour AGM battery, which should be fine for now, but we might add on later. We've got a 10 channel fuse box, 2 inline fuses which aren't hooked up yet. We're not ready to energize yet. One of them is coming from the battery into the inverter. One of them is coming from the battery into the fuse box, which is all of our DC stuff. We've got 7 channels of DC power. There's going to be 4 overhead lights. There's going to be 2 lights over the benches in the back here. That's what these are for. So there's going to be cabinets coming out to here and little LED lights underneath, looking on top of the benches. So that's 2 channels. One is going to the fantastic fan. It's just the basic model with the manual open and the 3 speeds. What else do we have here?
We have our DC and AC plugs.
Yes, right. We have a DC, like a USB charger plug here. There's going to be a full height cabinet here with a DC plug, and one here as well. There's also a line to our fridge, and there will be a line to our water pump as well. And I believe that's everything for DC. We also are going to have 2 AC plugs coming from our inverter. We're basically going to make it an extension cord essentially and hook it up to an AC plate. One of them is going to be on the same side as that DC plug on that cabinet. One here, and we're going to daisy chain this one to one beside the kitchen counter, which is going to be along here. We're also waiting to hook up a voltage sensitive relay, which essentially charges your solar battery from your alternator. When the VSR senses that there's more than enough charge going to your car battery, it sends the extra voltage back to your leisure battery. But we still haven't found a strong enough cord. This is the cord that came with the VSR, but it's a little bit too light duty, I suppose. That's what the guys at Video World told us. It is really salty here on the East Coast. They use a lot of road salt, and obviously there's just a lot of salt in the air from the ocean, like we're surrounded by it here.
Yeah. We salty.
We're salty. So we gotta find a more intense cord or a watertight method of sending the cord from the engine bay back here. We haven't figured that out quite yet.
I think
that's more or less our electric. It's straightforward. Thanks very much to Mitch Keynes, who made it seem stupid simple.
Yeah, we had a Red Seal electrician doing this for us, so if you are super unsure like we are, honestly, I think it's probably worth it.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth mentioning too, in our original design, we wanted to have our DC and our AC plug in the wall here, but we didn't take into account how deep the boxes are for the AC plug, so that would have taken out a good 2 or 3 inches of space here.
Yeah.
So we had to change that to go into this cabinet, so yeah, just a little thing that we didn't really think of that you also might not think of.
Yeah. Yeah, you can think and plan all you want, but you're gonna, if we had just done this by ourselves, we would have ran into that the hard way.
Yeah.
It definitely helped having a professional do it for us, so we didn't run into those problems in the first place.
Yeah, it's just little things you don't really think about like that.
No.
And 2 inches doesn't seem like a lot. Like when we were at Home Hardware or any building center and we would tell the people working what we were doing. They have knowledge in house building, so 2 inches to them isn't a lot, but when you're building a van, 2 inches on each side, that's quite a bit.
Yes it is, especially I'm 6'2", and this from metal wall to metal wall I think is 6 feet, so it's already too short, so anything we can save the better.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good rundown of the electrical. But yeah, again, Red Seal electrician did all this, not us, so if you are afraid, just ask someone.
Yeah. Oh, and for anyone watching outside of Canada, Red Seal is basically the national professional standard for a trade. So I don't know what it is in the States. I don't know what it is anywhere else.
Ticket,
but, yeah,
I don't know.
Your ticket, your certification, whoever's a professional, just get a professional. Just do it. It's so much easier.
Like you lost another one.
The hardest thing about this build for me was making a stud system in the main body, which was effective enough to make a nice flat plane for all the paneling. And that was really difficult in the Ford because there isn't any metal stud system whatsoever. It was just bends and bumps and holes of metal, so I had to come up with some type of alternative that I could build off of, basically. And I'm sure anyone else who has a Ford has experienced the same thing. You don't find it in the GMC or the Chevrolets, and you especially don't find it in the new vans, like the Transits and the Sprinters, because they're nice and square, they've got studs. In the old Chevrolets and the GMCs, they at least have metal studs that you can just fasten onto, super easy. But with this one, I had to make a stud system. And how I did that is I took some strapping, or some 1x3s, and I cut along the back all the way up the length of the strapping, and I didn't cut all the way through. I cut about 3/4 of the way through so they would bend. And I fastened the strapping at the bottom and at the top and at the middle to make a nice curve like this. And I did it all the way down the body, and it turned out all right. I used a lot of self-tapping screws. It was very nerve-wracking. If I may so boldly suggest to anyone thinking about buying a van, don't get an E-Series van if you want an easy build. Go with the GMC, go with the Chevrolet, or save your pennies and buy a Transit or a Sprinter. You will do yourself so many favors if you do that.
You've been telling me
So I'm going to drill the pile of holes. I'm going to take a bigger end to kind of chamfer the hole so the screw doesn't crack the gel coat. And that'll be just more structurally sound as well. I'm going to scooch my ladder a bit closer. Getting pretty used to drilling holes.
Yeah, it's not so scary anymore. Nervous? Dedicated to Arthur Fox. It's a nifty little drill bit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So now you're hooking the light up there?
Yeah. That snuck his balls.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh!
There you go. 2 more. So I neglected to film when I built the kind of false beam around the lip, and by lip I mean where the fiberglass roof meets the van. There was a really sharp edge there. So what I had to do was figure out a way to wrap that so we didn't hurt ourselves and so it looked good. So what I did is I just took some strips of plywood, I just made them into a false beam, as they say, and I just covered that lip all the way around, and it turned out pretty good, especially after we got some clear coat on it. Okay, so next thing I'm going to try and do is the overhead cabinets. There's going to be 2 identical ones on both sides, but since, like I've said before, the van isn't very square, it's quite round, I'm going to try something that I thought up the other day. I'm going to use this string, and I'm going to tape it to the floor, to the ceiling, and to the walls to try and get as many right angles as I can and use that to measure off of, basically a reference line. I really don't know how well it's going to work. I think if it works as well in my head as it will in real life, you know, it's going to be pretty good. So it's just kind of, the hardest part is starting. That's just what it's been with the band. The hardest part is getting started.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is what I've got so far. I've taken these strings and I've taped them and tied them off in certain points to create as many square angles as I can get. Like here and here, that'll be the side and the front, and up the side edge. And then back here, it runs into a right angle here. And then I have this string here. I couldn't really tighten it up enough, so I just put a mark. That is going to be the top edge of the main box of the cabinet. So I'm going to take all those measurements and make a box. And then I'll have to make some special pieces to fill in all the gaps. Like there's going to be a long gap at the top. There's going to be a thick, wide gap at the side here. So it's going to be a pickle, but I think it can be good. Let's go. Okay, so I've got one of the boxes done for our overhead cabinetry. I decided to kind of ditch the idea of trying to fill in the gap at the top after seeing how it looked just pushed up. It looks nice and square. I don't think anyone will notice except for maybe me, but I'll go crazy in private. So here it is. It's got a bit of an angle at the top as well, so I didn't go with a full piece at the top, just the kind of just a nailer really to hold it square and to screw into the roof. There we go. So that's the box there. I'm going to put a divider in the middle, and that's going to give it strength. The bottom shelf especially some strength, and hold it nice and flat. And then put a nailer inside here to shoot screws up through the bottom. Give it a little bit another little extra bit of strength, and to keep it from falling off the wall when we're driving. So yeah, let's keep rolling. Well, guys, I think I did it. Well, except for the doors, obviously. But they're up there. Decided to go with just a style as opposed to a full divider here. Just for airflow, weight, and material. It was just easier at the time, and you know, I'm not too fussed about it. Yeah, there she is. They're not quite perfectly in squares, so I might have a little bit of trouble doing the doors, but they look pretty good to me, and they're quite solid. Pretty happy with them.
Oh, they look good.
Yeah, you think?
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Are you happy with it?
I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah.
So close to me.
Yeah, I'll have to figure something out for the.
Start hole saw.
Yeah, just a hole saw. I don't really like the idea of having a full-blown hole in there, so.
But it's gonna be the same as this, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but do you want to have a full-blown hole in the?
Well, that was what we were
Cover.
talking about, having like the little box over it.
Yeah, right.
The box.
I think that's the best thing I can do. Yeah, how about that, eh? Alright, so here we are again. It's been a while. It's really been a blur since the last time we recorded. I think the last time we recorded I had the main wall paneled, the lip done. But since then we've gotten a lot of work done. Got the overhead cabinets done and painted. I do have the kitchen and stove and pantry area done too, but it's inside drying and stuff. We just painted that. We did get the solar figured out. We have it all wired up there, as you can see. As it turns out, I did punch a hole in it, but as you can see as well, we are just bumping with power. 13.7 volts. Yeah. I also neglected to film when I admitted that I had shot some screws through the solar cables. That actually happened after I built the lip. I put a self-tapping screw up into the metal lip, and it broke or cut or damaged the solar cable. Either way, we didn't know what was going on, so we just got in touch with Renogy. They sent us some free ones, and we slapped them on, and it was working fine. So I had to kind of come up with an alternative to feed the cords since everything was already paneled up. So today's project is the floor. We got a big roll of vinyl flooring to reduce seams and to be fully waterproof. So that was the main parameters of buying it. We did buy a pre-cut roll before, but it was a foot too short. It was 6 feet by 9 feet, and we needed to be at least 10 feet. So that was a pain in the butt. We could have cut it in half and ran the grain of the wood perpendicular to everything else, but I think we both agreed that that would look kind of tacky. So yeah, let's get this started. See, I'm not too worried about making those cuts around the wheel wells and the gas inlet and stuff, because they're all going to be covered by furnishings. Over here's the pantry, and over here's the bed, so that's all going to be covered up. So it should be pretty easy to fit this. Okay, so this is what we got between the first sheet and the second sheet. Kind of made a staggered seam, so it doesn't look quite as obvious. I'm just finishing doing some trimming now, so it's not quite perfect. So yeah, it blends in pretty good. You can see where it is, but I mean, all things considered, it's definitely better than just a straight line. We'll see how it does when I get it glued down, though. Alright, so I got the floor down and glued. Let's give you a look. So I've just got this big car jack on the seam to hold the little spliced parts down. But just to give you a picture, that's what the seam looks like. You can sort of tell because the little segments get smaller around there, but I think it looks pretty good. Just bubbling up a little bit here. Let's push that down. All in all, pretty happy with how it all turned out. We used just bulk vinyl roll flooring from Home Depot with this multi-purpose floor adhesive. It kind of dries into sort of an elastic texture, so that'll be good for when we're bumping around, moving around. No cracks or anything. Shouldn't bubble too bad. But yeah, pretty happy with how it all turned out. It's cohesive with the rest of the look, you know, the natural wood siding and all that. If I was to recommend this to someone else, or recommend flooring, I would recommend a flooring that's oriented, how do I put this? Well, ours was oriented in such a way where we had to splice it in two pieces. If we had used like a tile pattern or something like that, we could have just used it all in one big piece. But, you know, that's just how it goes. And I should mention this glue, this multi-purpose adhesive, takes 24 hours to fully cure. So I'm going to get my keister up off of this and go find something else to do. I think there's some painting I have to do inside. I got a lot of homework to do. I'm doing an online course. So yeah, I'm getting out of here.
We're gonna put the overhead cabinets in it. I'm so excited. We did a like a coating. Oh my god, it feels so much better. Oh my god. Yay.
I'm okay actually.
Folks, it is June 19th. No, June 20th. It is June 20th. No, it is June 19th. It is boiling hot. It's like 35 degrees Celsius today in Nova Scotia, which is just bonkers. It was like 40 degrees in New Brunswick, which is just unheard of. And today, Mitch is coming over to help us finish up the sink and plumbing. I think he just went to Princess Auto and Canadian Tire to pick up some like vinyl tubing, fittings, some electrical stuff like butt splices and stuff. And after he does that, he thinks it's going to take him about an hour and a half. After he finishes that up, I am going to do the propane locker and get the propane hose fed up to the stove. So I'll show you what that looks like right now. So that's the propane locker right there. I have got some weather seal stuff here. Where is it? There it is. Which I'm going to put around the door as a air seal. I'm also going to take some silicone and seal up all the cracks in the floor and on the wall and at the top, like that. And there's a bit of a gap there in the floor too, so I'm going to have to put some there. Then I'm going to drill a hole in through that wall into the cabinet, the kitchen cabinet I mean, which is going to feed up in behind the fridge, up in behind that drawer, and then finally it'll end up coming out in that back corner there. So I'm going to wait till Mitch gets here and then I'll turn this thing back on and document what we do. Alright, so we got Mitch here. He's wiring up our water pump and our switch and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Mitch, can you tell us what you're up to?
Yeah, I can. So we brought our feed in, 12-volt feed in the bottom, and we've got the little plastic flex tube going up to a switch, and then from the switch down to the water pump. So this is going to be our feed into the clean water canisters, and then we'll come out the top of the pump there into the sink.
Nice.
And then it'll come down through the drain into the gray water tank. So
excellent.
Yeah. It's just probably 5 minutes from a test run and
oh boy,
get some water pumping.
Oh,
but
yeah.
yeah.
So that's it for footage that we captured for the van build. After we put in the sink, we plugged in the fridge, we got the under cabinet lights plugged in, and I should say for the kitchen and the pantry I used the same method that I used for the overhead cabinets. I used a lot of string. I use a framing square in the floor to make a lot of right angles to get my measurements. And for the big pieces of wood in between the sections of either the kitchen or the pantry, I used rigid foam insulation, to the same stuff we used in the van, to make kind of a stencil to use to make a good shape to cut out, and it worked really well. So I suggest that for sure. But yeah, that's it for the build. I know it's severely lacking in some senses, but we did the best we could. It was certainly a learning curve getting used to filming all the time, and especially for me, I'm not used to doing anything but working when I am working. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, if anything is unclear, just post it in the comments section and we'll get back to you for sure. But in any case, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. We will be releasing a video of our time in New Brunswick and Ontario, where we spent a lot of time with our family. And then we'll be cruising through the prairies, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. And then when we're in Alberta, we're going to be hanging out with a special friend, so stay tuned.
perfect. Hey Bobby, do my feet smell nice? Yeah.